What happens when a world-class nutritionist uses blood panels, cellular biology, and fact-based science to create and monitor healthy eating plans with supplements for her clients? Everyone wins. Welcome to Power on Your Plate with Haylie Pomroy, an educational experience that gives you both the actionable and practical tools you can use every day to get your health, weight, and life back on track.
Hey guys, it's Hailey here, your nutritionist, but I'm not alone today. I actually have some of our beloved community members with me today. Thank you all for volunteering. We get a lot of requests to talk about supplementation, using micronutrients to help heal the metabolism, help promote health. It actually was the number one thing that was requested when we were on our cruise this last year. And so I thought it'd be a great idea for us to get together and bring some of our community members on where they can ask me anything that they want around supplementation. So before we get started, I want to introduce our members and like this is going to be a little bit of an unveiling for me also. Amy, Nancy, and Amina, thank you for being here. And Amy, if we can start with you. Let me know just a little bit about what led you to the FMD and where you're at on your FMD journey.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just completed my first 28 days yesterday, and it took me almost a year of researching Haylie Pomroy, tapping into a lot of information. And with the pandemic, I was stuck home, and I decided it's time to put myself first. And so I dove right in, and I've, down 6 pounds. But my biggest thing is the non-scale victories with not having, I don't have heartburn, I'm not having belly issues, the aching. So I'm moving forward and embracing this new eating. I have a great garden, so I'm eating a lot of fresh vegetables. So I'm really excited about this. This is like one of my things. Someone said to me one day, you know what? Your body has been taking very good care of you despite the foods that you're eating and where you're at. And now it's time for you to take care of your body. So that's kind of like where I am right now.
That's awesome, Amy. That's amazing. And don't we have a cool community too?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So supportive.
Yeah, they're my favorite people. So Amy, welcome and thank you. And I can't wait to hear your question. Nancy, welcome. Share a little bit about yourself.
I was referred to your program from a holistic practitioner a few months ago. She basically said you need to detox. I suffer severely with hypoglycemia, so most diet plans have always been too restrictive. I wound up getting too hungry, having a blood sugar crash, and that's it. I'm down for a day or two.
Right.
I got the book, read it cover to cover before I started. Very excited, joined online. I'm on my second round of FMD. I lost 11 pounds, which is incredible for me. But I've always eaten very healthy. But this program, it's really a lifestyle change for me. I'm eating more than I have ever eaten. I'm eating great food. I like to cook. So the fact that I can try new recipes from the cookbook or just change it up, the app is probably the best app I've ever seen, and I have seen them all. It's really life-changing for me not to have those ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and keeping my blood sugar stable. And loving to cook, this is great. There's always something new I can try. So I thank you.
That's awesome, Nancy. Thank you. And we're going to do a little cooking class. We're going to do some barbecuing this next challenge, which is going to be fun. I have tips that I love to barbecue, but I don't like some of the health implications of some of the stuff. So where there's a will, there's always a good way. So thank you, Nancy. Welcome. Amina, thank you so much for being here. I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of your health journey and how we came to know one another today.
Thank you for having me here. So I started out, and I should say we, because I brought my husband along the ride with me. So, so I started out, I was seeing an acupuncture because I suffer from a lot of autoimmune problems, a lot of inflammation. So I was seeing an acupuncture, and she turned me on to your book. she actually loaned me your book, and then I ended up purchasing my own. And I started out with the cleanse, that 10-day cleanse, and we together, my husband and I, we lost like 10 pounds
Yay.
on that cleanse, and it was just a feel good. We bought all the shakes. I mean, it was almost life changing. And a lot of the recipes that you had in there, I never cooked with some of those ingredients and loved it. Like especially the chili, that was very different. Adding zucchini to chili, I never thought of that. So that's how we started out, and then I phased into um, the the phases. I'm not sure what they're called. The FMD.
Yep.
Yeah, so I started into that, but I didn't successfully finish it out. I tried to. I think I was just a little confused on, everything to eat. And then your app came out and I downloaded the app, which helped tremendously.
Good.
Yeah, big time. So I started out on that, did it for the week, and then stopped. But then I got your cookbook and I've been following some of the recipes. So I've just been on this gradual, like, Hailey following, doing the whole thing. So now I'm trying to get back on track.
Good.
FMD, I'm signed up for your challenge, and I'm hoping that, I can stick long run, like that whole 28, at least try it out for that 28 days.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, welcome and thank you for sharing that. I want to jump into questions because we've never all gotten to meet before right now. And so this is a lovely way to start the relationship of working through kind of questions and stuff. So Amy, I'm going to let you start first. I should probably have maybe done some homework or something, but I like to just kind of do from the cuff. You can ask me anything. You're in the chair with me, and so shoot, what you got?
I think one of the questions that I've been really thinking about this over the weekend, and I'm 52. I'm starting with the hormonal stuff, and I'm wondering and I've never taken supplements. I take the supplement with this FMD that you have. It came with the program, but I'm looking for something that's going to help either balance or help me with the perimenopausal journey I'm about to go into.
Right. So usually when women or my girlfriend and we're kind of a similar age, when some of the basic things but that make the biggest impact. That's what I'm always looking for, right? I'm looking for something that, in clinical practice, that's going to make a therapeutic change. So the fatty acids are probably the thing that I get, like I said, rolled for all the time, that all of my female friends take very regularly. So they are the building blocks for all of the sex hormones. So a lot of times as we go through different transitions hormonally, either as menopause and the ovaries start to produce less estrogen in our accessory organs, like our adipocytes, our fat cells, or even our adrenals, our bone marrow is one of the reasons why we have bone density issues sometimes as women. As we start to produce less from the ovaries, the other areas of the body require a little more nutrient support. So the fatty acids would be like anytime, like my daughters take it for periods, regular periods, skin. I actually came up with a formula when I found out I was pregnant. I didn't want to get stretch marks, and I have an autoimmune like you, Amina, and it was a very high risk for me to choose to have kids. And so I really started researching. So that's how long that one's been around. We had a really hard time acquiring the raw ingredients for years and years and years. So we never made it available on the website. It was only available in my clinic because we couldn't manufacture enough of it. And then it's manufactured not in the States because I have a big issue with purity and fatty acids in the United States. There's some major problems in supplements there. So we acquired the raw ingredients and we were able to manufacture enough that we could put on the website now. So they look like this. They're in a black bottle because they're non-soy. They're You have to be very careful to not have heat exposure. Even the amber glass, I'm not a big fan of with lipids. With women, I'm not a fan of fish-based lipids because our bodies can convert those into pro-inflammatory hormones. So I would say for women, like the fatty acids, especially like it's really important for, sorry, but crown, hair dignity, like the strength of the hair so that you don't get the little broken wispy things. Collagen, elastin production, all of that is important. But more than anything, it nurtures those accessory areas that now are going to produce hormones as the ovaries start to slow down, so that they can do so in a balanced way, so that we don't have the hot flashes and we don't have the weight gain and we don't have the fog and the fatigue associated with hormone fluctuations. So Amina, I'm just going to throw this in there. When I was looking at this to carry kind of successful pregnancies, and I'm kind of a crazy science formulator, right? And having an autoimmune, you have to be very careful about inflammatory processes. What a lot of people don't realize is our sex hormones are inflammatory, pro and anti-inflammatory hormones. Our hormones they're called prostaglandins. So as we go through a hormone transition, we want to make sure that we have really easy bioavailable nutrients to regulate those anti and pro-inflammatory hormones, which are our sex hormones, so that we don't get the hot flashes and the sleepless nights and things like that. If you're noticing hormone imbalance, like my daughters will get, maybe like a breakout, or my son went away to college and got like major breakouts, hot flashes, midsection weight gain, we layer on the metabolism DIM. DIM helps the body metabolize non-metabolized sex hormones. So think about this, like we squeeze out our hormones from these secretory glands, but then our body has to make them bioavailable so we can use them. And that process sometimes gets out of balance, and we get all of these byproducts of hormones that we can't use. So this is like the building blocks when we're dealing with hormone stuff, and this is more like helping your body, when you produce the hormones, break them down so that you can use them efficiently. So I'll use an example in men with a low testosterone. A lot of times they will give testosterone. The first thing that I want to do is see if we can't get the body to metabolize what they're producing on their own. So we'll use DIM, or a woman that gets fibrocystic breasts, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, or osteopenia, or hot flashes. It really, what we want to always do, and this is what I'm saying even with weight loss, that's why I'm like, it's the metabolism, right? We want to try to nurture the pathways that let you do it as efficiently as your body can, first and foremost. So literally, these are stocking stuffers for every one of my female friends, colleagues. Like, I eat them. I don't even swallow them. I chew them. I know my kids think it's crazy. And like every person in my family has these. We have a really high breast cancer risk factor in our family. So my mom is also a fertility specialist. I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm like a hormone, keep your hormones balanced, is my mantra that I kind of live by. So we want to nurture those. And again, if you're noticing any symptoms associated with transitions in hormones, I would layer on the DIM.
Thank you.
Awesome, Amy. Nancy, you're up.
Okay. Whoops, I just lost my screen. I apologize.
Oh, I can see you.
Okay, it went away somewhere. How can we know which supplements complement each other and which we should take apart from each other?
That's a great question. And we're actually working on a guidebook right now because there's a lot, and I wish that I were, I say this, we're in the health and wellness space, right? And I've formulated before we did our own supplements for a lot of companies. And a lot of companies do like a reductionistic line and just sell, just to sell it and everybody should be on it. It's kind of like the same reason when I first came out in the diet world, everybody said, oh, Hailey, can't you just do one diet and tell everybody that's what they have to do? Why do you have the burns and the food RXs and the cleanse and but it's because I really want you to get what you need kind of with your body. That's why we do a lot of the self-assessment stuff. So I always say like the metabolism essentials, right? So it's really good to be on the multivitamin to level the playing field. Again, everybody every day, like, from a folic acid perspective to a food deficiency perspective, the list goes on and on of why we formulated that way. It's also methylated Bs, like we get our B out of Milan, Italy. We get our folic out of Spain, because it's not just what's in it. You, again, being in manufacturing for a long time and formulating for a lot of people, you can make the label look really sexy, but you don't have to say where stuff is sourced from. It's such a frustrating point for me. Then when we look at the metabolism and we look at what we're trying to do with food, is we're trying to take macronutrients, food, complex carbohydrate, your brown rice, and turn it into micronutrients to actually have the worker bees to heal the metabolism. So if you've had a slower, sluggish metabolism, I because again, having autoimmune, I take digestive enzymes. They're anti-inflammatory. They help you break your food down. They especially help you metabolize complex carbohydrates. So it's kind of like the upper GI metabolism enzyme and the lower GI absorption metabolism probiotics. So usually we say like do a multi, do an enzyme, do a probiotic. Like that's kind of like, I wish that came in the mail as part, like we brush our teeth every day. There's just kind of basic health, right? Then I like to categorize things as what we call accelerators. Like, so we have like Bye Belly Fat and Fat Blaster, right? They're both awesome. They're both really good if a person's metabolism is stuck. I like to rotate those with my clients. But Fat Blaster is like, I'm stuck. I've hit a plateau. I have really hard fat. It won't go away from this area. Even individuals that have lipomas, or fatty liver disease, we find in our office that works really good. Where the Bye Belly Fat's like, what the heck happened to my body? I never had fat here before. So think like historical and situational, right? And sometimes they both go together. That's why we'll say do one and then for 30 days, then do the other for 30 days. That's an accelerator. Another accelerator that we have is, it's like a rescue. We call it rescue and reserve. Some of the stuff, again, we had a hard time get enough to sell on the website, but I think we're going to be okay. My team's going to kill me for saying what I'm going to say. But it's when we combine when we combine the T4, T3 and the metabolism control with the fatty acids. So when an individual is exhausted, fatigued, there's the thought of cooking when they've been on a lot of sugar, when they eat a lot of processed foods. It's the quickest way that I can get my clients here so that then they can burn fat for fuel, because that's a job, right? And we were just talking in our last meeting that, losing 10% of your body weight or gaining 10% of your body weight, we need to remember that those fat cells are those adipocytes are endocrine glands. That's equivalent to having part of your ovaries like resected. If it made or cut out, that would make that much of a hormone impact, right? So it's a big job to lose weight. Like you losing 11 pounds is amazing. And the percentage of your body weight that is, when we get into that 10% range, I mean, it can make a whole cascade of changes. So I digress. I'm sorry. So layering on some of those accelerators when you're working through things, I like to put those in and out therapeutically. I personally take the fatty acids every day. I'm diligent. I take my multi, I take my fatty acids, I take my, we chew our probiotics in our family like candy, especially right now with everything going on. We really are working on our immune system. Everybody travels with them in our family as well. I have an autoimmune disorder, so I take the metabolism free radicals. It's been life-changing to me, and formulating variations of that through my health journey. I was on 60 milligrams of prednisone, and that was very hard. I lost part of my right kidney. So the free radicals are amazing with pain, with inflammation, but keeping your inflammatory hormones stabilized. Um, I have a tendency to use metabolism histamine transiently. Like this morning, I was sneezing my head off. If I get into foods, like I'm really sensitive to soy. I'm really sensitive to soy is probably the worst for me. But if I eat a bunch of gluten or something, I look like I have a gluten hangover. So I'll take metabolism histamine to get that on out. I drink metabolism energy every day, and I do metabolism stress before I go to bed every night. I consider myself like I should have been turned in on the lemon law, right? I mean, so I have to work really hard on it. I also, when I went through, they call it premature ovarian failure when it's a certain age, but I had gotten meningitis. Was it 2 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago? And was in UCLA for 2 weeks, and I, boom, stopped my periods. And I was, and that can happen when you go through so I worked a lot on DIM to get things stabilized or back balanced with that. I was really diligent on my DIM during that time, and now my hormones are great. So uh, I'm trying to think of what else. I also do, as you know, I do my shakes all the time, and I take my colon transiently. It's not a purgative laxative, so I have a lot of people that take it every day, and it nurtures that peristalsis in the bowel. So Nancy, I hope I didn't just add more confusion. Let me distill it back down. If I were starting, I would do multi-enzymes, probiotic, fatty acids. Then I would look at what I wanted to work on. I'd probably pick one of the accelerators and add those on. Either all I want to do is eat sugar and go to sleep. I'm stuck and I'm at a plateau, or my hormones are totally off, and that would be bye belly fat would be hormone, stuck would be fat blaster, and I cannot stop these cravings. I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, I'm don't have a lot of clarity, would be the rescue and repair. I love talking about supplements. Sorry, guys. All right, Amina, you're up.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so a couple of my questions have been covered, so thank you for that.
Oh, good.
So obviously I suffer from autoimmune as well. So I have lupus, and I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I inflame like very quickly with like the slightest movements. And right now I'm taking the fatty acids, I have the DIM, I take the DIM, the multi, and I have the metabolism colon, which I take here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a B complex and vitamin D, and I'm on this hydroxychloroquine for my autoimmune.
The hydroxychloroquine?
Yes.
Okay.
So my question is, like, what is the best for that autoimmune, and can I take them all at the same time like I have been? I think that's the question.
Right. So, do you feel, I always love if a person's taking anything pharmacologically or supplement or herbal, I love to know if you feel a change. So how long have you been on the hydroxychloroquine?
I have been on that for about 2 months now.
And can I ask, were they trying to lower like ANA titers or sedimentation rates, or what was
the goal was, so for a long time I didn't know what was wrong with me, so I recently got diagnosed with all of that, the autoimmune piece of it. So this doctor said, well, the goal is to try to reduce a lot of the inflammation that I was having, because it was a daily thing I was having, where it was a different part of my body that would get inflamed, and I couldn't, like, it was
traveling. We call it traveling bees, right?
Yeah. Terrible. So she put me on that a couple months ago. The goal is to try to eventually get off of that and put it in remission.
So a couple things. Do you have the Food RX book? This one?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna have my team send it to you, but I'm gonna fold a couple pages in it for you. Okay,
Okay.
and then I'll have them send it to you. So there's a great chapter on autoimmune, and there's great labs to look at. And in the membership section of your in the membership section, there's a thing that's called Protocol for Progress. And I want you to write down the medications that you're taking as well as the labs that they're monitoring to see if the medication is doing the job that we want it to do, right? I also do that even with, like I said, nutritionals or herbals or anything like that. We really want to define kind of what we're doing and why we're doing it and what we should get out of it, right? So, so with you, they will be looking at sedimentation rate, ANA titers, but you want to make sure that they're looking at, especially with the rheumatoid factors. And the goal is that those become stable through nutrition and nutritional supplementation and adding or layering on. And everybody and their brother right now knows the term hydroxychloroquine from the COVID, right? So the reason I was asking if hydroxychloroquine made an impact and what it made an impact on, did it lower your SED rates? Did it lower your RH factor, rheumatoid factors? Did it lower your ANA titers? Because we understand how that drug works. It lowers, it's almost like a regulator on a car. So if you rent a Ford Festiva, at the Enterprise Rent-A-Car, there's a regulator on your Ford Festiva that only allows it to go to 70 miles per hour. No matter how much you push on the accelerator, it won't go any faster. So hydroxychloroquine is a regulator of a pro-inflammatory, particular class of prostaglandins, a pro-inflammatory system in the body. Specifically, they call it the cytokines. So maybe you've heard in the media, they talk about one of the issues with COVID is a cytokine storm. And the storm or the cytokines, coming into the lungs and creating that really strong inflammatory response. So with lupus, as well as rheumatoid arthritis, we can have a catalyst that can really add lighter fluid to this flame that's there, and it becomes an immune storm, right? So that's why they'll use that drug to try to regulate it. What we want to do is strengthen your own regulators so that when stressors come about, it can be fatigue, it can be like me, soy, it can be gluten or dairy or strep is a huge one for rheumatoid arthritis. You get a kid that has strep in the household, and you get these ginormous rheumatological flares. What you want to do is have your own regulator be really, really strong. So I always recommend, if you're on any pharmacological, talk to your doc, make sure they're cool with it, take it in, show them the labels. But usually things that really help regulate that are two of them. Or three of them actually. You're on the fatty acid, which is awesome. The metabolism-free radicals when we have sourced this, again, this is a, I don't know where it is. This is a selfish. I call this selfish because this was like, I have a bleeding disorder and I want to have kids, so I'm going to search all over the world. I brought stuff in from Germany and was cease and desist by the FDA. I was like, I'm going to find it because I need it. This was another selfish one. It's got a particular form of boswellia and siloxane in it that really helps strengthen the inflammatory process in the body, the regulatory process of inflammation in the body. So it's not an anti-inflammatory. It doesn't cool inflammation. It helps your body have that balance between what we call prostaglandin 1, 2, and 3, the pro and anti-inflammatories. So that one has been a huge lifesaver for a lot of my clients that have lupus or rheumatoid RH factors or really any elevated in the if your sedimentation rate is elevated. And then the third one that sounds like an odd one to add in, but it's metabolism control. So we probably need to rename it. They're gonna start throwing things at me over here. It is a really, really cool support for the adaptogenic hormones in the adrenal, the bone, and the brain. And it's a formula that we put together. Again, I don't know, the powers that be, think you kind of from a control your appetite, but it's having that control of how the body regulates the inflammatory and reactive hormones. So a lot of times we have cravings, like sugar cravings or potato chip cravings, to stimulate an endorphin response in our body that acts almost as a natural steroid, or like almost like a natural prednisone even, right? So we get those endorphins and those hormones that are produced by that. So that formula is a like awesome for helping get your body to stabilize. But what I want is, I don't want to just say like, oh, this is awesome, and this is going to make you feel better and all this stuff. I want us to start charting it with you, and I want you to expect perfection from the supplements you take, from the medication you take, period. The food that we consume, we actually have to break that down, deliver it to the right places, secrete what we don't need, don't have a leaky gut, have enough pancreatic enzymes. It's harder, which is why we use these strategic targeted micronutrients, or a physician might use a strategic target pharmacological medication, because it goes in and it targets that area. So you should have high expectations from any supplement you take or any medication you take. I wish food is harder, but that's the goal, right? Our quality isn't great, our accessibility isn't great, our ripeness isn't great always. But if someone's put it in a bottle, I'm a really bad. If someone's put it in a bottle, it goes one of two places. It goes inside my body and it better do something, or it goes in the trash can, period. And that's really important. So I want you to grab that protocol for progress.
Okay.
That's what comes to my mind the most, especially because the hydroxychloroquine, if you're going to be on it, we want it to hit a home run. We want it to do, like when I did prednisone, we want it to do the job so it can move on to another soul to support, right? But we want to give it every possibility that we can to be really successful at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to do one more round of quick questions. I promise to be quicker and duck a little more. I keep getting in trouble over here. But Amy, you're up. And I hope this is helpful.
Oh my gosh, it's such great information, because I don't know anything about supplements. I really don't, other than the Flintstones.
No. That was a cartoon.
Right. I guess I'm looking for something, really, what's going to help besides the food, to jumpstart the metabolism. And, maybe not something I have to take long term, but what's going to kind of work hand in hand with the food and getting kind of like the energy going inside the body.
Right. That's why the accelerators are really good. So like I always tell people when clients come in and they're like, okay, let's do this. I got a chunk of time, or I'm going to do the cleanse, or I'm going to do, I'm jumping on your challenge. What do? I'm like, grab an accelerator, because you're going to put all the effort in with the food perspective. And we usually do between the three: Bye Belly Fat, Fat Blaster, or Rescue and Repair. Again, there's a whole bunch in why we put what supplement. Bye Belly Fat is soft, fluffy fat that feels like your body's, like you're maybe losing weight, but it's so easy to gain it. Like you do really good, and then a margarita falls in your mouth and you're like, okay, that's awful. You don't hold on to your weight loss. The Fat Blaster, and again, I have people that I have clients that they don't go, they say, just tell me what to do. They're sitting in my office and I say, okay, we're gonna do Fat Blaster for 30 days, then we're gonna do Bye Fit, we're gonna oscillate this, right? The Fat Blaster is, I'm stuck, this is not moving. Maybe I go up and down a little bit, but I'm just not marching down like I'm seeing other people march down. And just to give you a little bit of the Bye Belly Fat has 3 things in it. And Nancy, this might be very interesting to you. I started, okay. So the free radicals, the CLA and the DIM is in the Bye Belly Fat. So we talked about free radicals. So one of the things that happens with fat cells is they become swollen. And when they become swollen, there's a couple hormones, adiponectin and leptin, that they start to secrete as an endocrine gland, and they get out of balance. So if we can take the swelling down, that's a great one. And also the pathway of inflammation really makes insulin not sensitive. So what I'm saying is, you eat sugar, whether it's a carrot or a cheesecake, if you take it into the cell and you burn it for fuel, we're all good, right? When you have inflammation, it inhibits that lock and key, that ability for it to come out of the bloodstream and into the cell. So we don't want the inflammation. So that's why we add this. But then the other thing is the conjugated linoleic acid, metabolism CLA. So Nancy, we use this a lot on dysglycemia, hypoglycemia, blood sugar regulation issues. Conjugated linoleic acid is a specific fatty acid that helps the body in a balanced way pull sugars out of the bloodstream and up into the cell to be metabolized. And then the last one's the DIM, which is the hormone piece, right? So it's like helps you when you have those unmetabolized hormones. So that's one of the accelerators. Again, I could science geek out about it forever. But the way that I always tell people, if you feel fluffy, if you feel a little foggy, if you feel edema, swelling, you just have that like layer of kind of fluff. And I have clients that are working on or have lost like hundred of pounds, and we oscillate that in and out. The fat blaster. So we got to think about like the anatomy of the fat cell a little bit more. So the enzyme balance, and we take this between meals when you're on the fat blaster. This helps break down that protein shell so that the fat cell can kind of ooze out the fat. So they're a little bit different. And then the third one, the rescue and repair, again, that's the T4, T3, which is helps with thyroid metabolism. That's the superhero of that thermogenic, that burn hormones, right? The metabolism control, which helps regulate, like we were talking about, the brain, the bone, and the adrenals, those stress hormones. So if you're noshing, if you're eating, if you don't feel satiated, that's a great one to layer in. So usually we layer in those accelerators, and that you can go with any of the programs. I will say that a lot of people in my office, when they do metabolism revolution, because that kind of tightens everything back up, a lot of them like the the fat blaster with that one. The cleanse, I would say a lot of times people do the bye-bye belly fat with the cleanse. I have people that do both. If you've hit a plateau and you're doing the cleanse, the fat blaster is better. If you are starting or coming back and do the cleanse, the bye-bye belly fat's a great one. My clients that are just like tapped out, maxed out, stressed out and do the cleanse, I do the rescue and repair with.
So I've been trying to exercise a lot lately to lose weight. What supplement is good for me to take to help like my achy joints after that workout and help repair?
Right. So the free radicals are the bomb after. Yeah. And then the other thing too, Amina, is do a little bit of pH testing. We're going to be doing for this next challenge. If you're sign up for it, even just watch. We're going to be doing some digestive reserve and pH testing in one of the days that we do the interactive event. That'd be really, really good because in it tells you based on what your pH is, should you do lemon before workout, lime before workout? Should you do, baking soda and sea salt? Like it gives you some really good lifestyle tips that can help you not go into that pro-inflammatory response post-workout. All of our programs, you can use any of our supplements that you feel are beneficial for you. Typically, we always have everybody on the multivitamin. We usually advocate the digestive enzyme, especially if you're a person that has had a poorer than you would like diet in the past, or you've come off a program that's either fasting based or banishes a particular food group base where you've pushed yourself into like a ketosis for longer than a 3-day period. Those are really important to note that they are not the only thing on our whole program that is not vegan. They are not vegan or vegetarian. Everything else that we have is vegan and vegetarian. Everything that we have is gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, and I will go toe-to-toe with anybody that is the cleanest product on the planet Earth. I am neurotic about that. We cage everything after it's manufactured, which is not required at all in the United States, and have every single thing as a finished product reassayed for efficacy, for dosage, for purity. We do a bacterial, we do a metal on it. None of that is required. I would not touch it if that company does not do that you buy product from. Make sure. The highest standard is actually the Australian standard. We are FDA approved. We are GMP approved. And we also did I always get it wrong, but it's got a T in it. The Australian standard, we can't sell in Australia, but it's the one that has the highest that you can do. So if you're looking for a supplement and it's not mine, make sure it has all 3 of those seals. We have accelerators. Once you've got your basic metabolism support in, we do the bye-bye belly fat, the fat blaster, or the rescue and repair. We have some accessory ones too that might be of interest to you, but that's kind of the basic ones. Is there a ideal time to take your foundational supplements? So we typically take all of our supplements with meals, with the exception on the accelerators, I have a very specific dosage where some of them lie between meals. The reason being that I would like your body to absorb those into the bloodstream more efficiently than go after the food that's in your stomach. So if we have a 2-hour period and your body is already in the process of digesting the food, we've produced a lot of hydrochloric acid, that hydrochloric acid level will start to come down, and that's when I like to put, like, for example, the metabolism enzymes between the meals so that they don't have as much hydrochloric acid in conjunction with it and as much proteolytic enzymes that you're producing on your own because you've just consumed a meal. So when we do the fat blaster, you'll see I'll pull the enzymes between meals, but that's only when you're doing them in combination with the metals and the histamine. Okay, so if you're doing enzymes outside of the fat blaster, you do them with your meals. If you do enzymes during the fat blaster, when you're combining it with a chelator in the metals and you're combining it with the product in the histamine, you're going to do those between meals. So we are working on making sure that all of this comes in a nice guide, and I hope that'll be helpful. But part of us wanting to do this supplement roundtable was to get together with our community and see what questions you guys have. So I want to thank you, Amy, Nancy, and Amina for being with us today, and we'll do more of this, okay? I hope this helped. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye, guys. Yes, thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being part of this, Hailey.
Oh,
thank you for
Amy.
everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Amy.
Thank you for listening to another inspiring episode of Power on Your Plate with Haylie Pomroy. Please remember to share the amazing science and tools with someone you love. The more we know, the more we all lift our global health together. Visit www.haileypomroy.com to get notes from today's show and to take your education and health to a new level of success and happiness.
Information on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for the advice provided by your physician or other healthcare professional or any information contained on or in any product label or packaging. You should not use the information on this podcast for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease or prescribing any medication or other treatment. You should always speak with your physician or other healthcare professional before taking any medication or nutritional, herbal, or homeopathic supplement or adopting any treatment for a health problem. If you have or suspect that you have a medical problem, promptly contact your healthcare provider. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking professional advice because of something you've heard on this podcast. Information provided on this podcast and the use of any products or services purchased as a result of this podcast does not create any type of professional relationship between you and any of the associates affiliated with this podcast. Information and statement regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.